just want to take like a minute just to settle, maybe connect with the breath and the body. Maybe feeling how the body's connected with the earth around us and within us. So the same carbon in the plants is found in the carbon in our cells, the minerals in the mountains, the minerals in our bones. And the way that water that flows around the earth is flowing within us, around the veins and arteries. Just it does go through the rivers and streams of the world. And the sun and the fire within us and around us. And that air around us and within us, giving us that life. Breathing with that, feeling that, and feeling that connection. And then from that connection, if anybody would like to introduce themselves, that would be lovely. Yeah, so I'm Catherine. I've been just, being kind of called to do some of these meetings, just to share information about them from the amazing people that I've worked with, met, assisted in maybe little ways here and there. So that's me. Should I just say, I'll just point people's names, otherwise no one ever wants to speak. So next on my screen is Christopher Hall, if you'd like to say.
Hi everybody. I'm not minded to sort of wish to be joining an eco village, but I am ever so interested in the whole idea and the sort of things people are thinking about and trying to do. I am a cooperator and I belong to the Cooperative Party, and I sort of want to support community activity. I only joined the Incredible Edible group last July as one of my escapes out of COVID and all that sort of thing. And I have really enjoyed it, and I've got really stuck in through weekends and my midweek, my one day off sort of thing. So that I come along, I take an interest, I try and support and help the community angle of things. So thank you.
So thank you, Chris. Yeah, I ought to say that I work with Incredible Wrecsam as well, shouldn't I? Should have said that. I don't know what to say. James, would you like to say a couple of things?
Oh, hi. Yeah, I'm James. I'm from Northumberland. We're quite close to Northumberland, so I'm really interested in the eco village thing, and I'd love to get involved in setting. I want to live one if I can, and get into permaculture and a more wholesome way of living. And I'm just looking for a reason to retire out of healthcare. I've done that for 35 years and brought 3 kids up. And so I'm looking for another direction. I just want to unsurround myself with houses. So I'm picking up on all these talks that I can and trying to learn more and more about permaculture, etc. Thanks for having us.
Sounds a good plan. I ought to say to everybody, this is recorded. We're going to put it up on the YouTube. So those that couldn't make it, I'll send them out the video link. So if you don't want to speak, you don't have to speak and stay hidden. Or let me know afterwards and I can try cut it out. But if you do want to speak, Christy, would you like to say a couple of words?
Sorry, it's always a minute to find that unmute button, isn't it? I know Katie from doing a walk, so we kind of connected then, and I did start with an Incredible Edibles last year during lockdown for Wrecsam. But I do a lot of volunteer work, so I had to drop something, and sadly it had to be that. So I'm just getting into growing my own. I'm into self-sufficiency, I guess, and I've been looking into earth ships and things like that, and just, I suppose, trying to find ideas for exiting this system that we're in and trying to come up with ideas for a new one. That's where I'm at. So I'm kind of just like the other people, like gaining some information and trying to learn as much as I can. So yeah, connecting with like-minded people. There you go.
Beautiful. What more can we ask, is it?
Yeah.
The conversation went on a bit last week after recording, didn't it, about certain things like that.
It was good though, wasn't it? It was good.
Yeah, it's good to get the ideas out there.
Yeah.
And Layla, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, just the connecting with like-minded people is probably the main thing why I'm here as well, and looking for a community to live in and contribute, and gardening and cooking and counseling and all those things, and it would be great to find people I can share that with in a more holistic kind of everyday life. Yeah, but I kind of don't know where I'm going yet. I just want to be somewhere warmer. I'm in Cumbria at the moment, so further down south in this country or west, I'm not quite sure yet. And I don't know what the future allows us to do either. So yeah, but I'm looking forward to tonight.
Where did you say that you are?
I'm in Cumbria, Kendal.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, not too far from James then, maybe. Close. Brilliant, thank you. And Linda, would you like to say a few words?
Yep, just briefly, I'm in North Norfolk. I first formed an intentional eco community in 2008. We lost the land in 2009, and as an architectural designer, I was working for nothing on proposals for various sites, and was promoted to group moderator at the Eco Village Network UK in 2011. Went to launch the ARC to help others to do what we couldn't. So we gave up looking for land for ourselves and we're going to help others. It all went a bit under anyway. So here I am coming back out of the ice slowly now. Okay.
Oh, thank you. I think that's what some of these talks have done as well, has helped people learn from others' experiences as well, as that can help and have the success of others, I think, you know. And again, that's why I like putting on the YouTube videos, because I know a lot of people watch it afterwards as well to get that kind of information out there. It's really good. Have been shared. And I don't know if Mary or Mary's making tea. Yeah. Would you like to say a few words?
I'm back, but I'm eating tea now, so I'm keeping my camera off while I'm scoffing.
That's good. You want to say a little bit about what the projects you're involved with?
Well, I'm a local councillor in Swansea, and everybody's gone nuts about community growing. So I think the whole Eco Village movement has got things probably that we could pick up from and learn about, you know, getting high yields in urban environments and peri-urban environments. And also, I think through lockdown, what we've seen is people are really reconnecting with each other as communities, and also not necessarily looking to the traditional institutions to put everything in place that they need. So I was just really interested in what this talk this evening was offering. I know the things that Tammy's going to be talking about are things that I can take away and use in perhaps other contexts from other people here. So yeah, thanks.
Beautiful, thank you. And yeah, Peter, do you want to say a few words? I'm guessing the people with cameras off and microphones off don't really want to speak, but if you want to. Oh, hi. Yeah, would you like to say a few words?
Oh, yeah. Hi, my name's Emma. I'm a painter and printmaker. On here to just try and find out a little bit more about, I suppose, the more alternative, less traditional lifestyles that are out there. So yeah, just on the fringes, just wanting to learn a little bit more, really. So started a lot more vegetable gardening last year and developing a lot more of that. So painting's taking us very much a back seat at the moment, and I've thrown myself into developing my garden, and I'm on an online permaculture course as well. Really enjoying that, and I came through this through the incredible edible Wrecsam theme, which I haven't been over to introduce myself to yet, but I'm going to come over and say hi.
Awesome. I'm glad we're good to meet you.
So I'm going to bring my niece along and get her into gardening.
Oh, beautiful. Lovely. Growers of the future. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, and so Peter or Tina, I'd like to give you a few moments if either one of you want to introduce. There you go. Wow, a few seconds. Right, okay. Thank you for that. It's really nice to, you know, that people do want to speak, that share a little bit where they're coming from. Oh, and Emma, yeah, hopefully you'll meet me or Chris soon on the Incredible Edible Beds. Yeah, so it's nice, like even like with Linda, we didn't even get anywhere near getting land, but at least we've got a community project where we're growing food in the community. So that's, you know, we're growing community even without getting the land for an eco village. And I think with Eco Village Wales, it's kind of a bit more broad than that. It's like eco communities in general. There's like no boundaries, no space. And yeah, Tammi, I guess I met you with the Glastonbury Permaculture Gardens. Was it really when I first met you? That was, see, that, now that's a community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're
So
still running them.
oh, it's amazing. So yeah, if you'd like to say a little bit more about what you do, because that's only one small part, and then I'll leave it over to you. I'll mute everybody else apart from hopefully apart from Tammi. Well, Tammi, you'll have to unmute yourself. There we go. There we go.
Takes more than you to mute me, woman.
Yeah. So, if anybody wants to ask any questions, you can do the chat, or you can put your hand up, and Tammi can or unmute yourself. But just so you don't disturb each other.
Lovely.
Okay.
I'll give you a little introduction as to my background, and then I think probably rattle through a quick slideshow regarding a particular piece of work that I've been doing for about last year or so now. And then we'll just open it up, because I've got a lot of experience, and some of it's great and some of it has been challenging, and those sorts of experiences where we really, really learn from them. So a little bit about me. I'm originally from the Midlands, and my grandparents were travellers. They were Irish travellers. So I've always kind of had that in the background. And then I lived in trucks and really sought out that alternative lifestyle in the early to mid 90s, just after university. And I've lived in trucks, I've lived in caravans, I've been homeless a few times, but I'm fortunate now in that I live in a cracking little market town called Pentref in mid Wales, about 4 miles from the coast, and I'm in a council house. So I'm not from a moneyed background, I'm a very working class woman, and feel very lucky that we've got a safe and secure roof over our heads. So about a year ago, I guess, you know, yeah, to be when the pandemic really hit, Machynlleth is one of those places, you know, the places like Totnes, like Brighton, like Frome, like Glastonbury. It's one of those places, and I think it's by and large because we have the Centre for Alternative Technology about 4 miles out of town. And so over the last 40 odd years, it's attracted people who've worked there, studied there, lived there, and people kind of congregate in the town. And it is a bit of a town of two halves. So we've got a very traditional Welsh community, and we've got the incomers. And while I probably sit with a foot in each camp now. I'm a not proficient Welsh speaker, but I understand enough. My son's doing his GCSE and I can help him with his work. So I'm kind of at that level. I'm not a particularly confident Welsh speaker. So yeah, within town, we have quite a tight community and quite a forward-thinking community. So when the pandemic hit, quite a few of us were kind of talking to each other and ringing each other up and going, oh Christ, you know. And I think the real catalyst was, bizarrely, we have a supermarket in town, the Co-op. I can remember going into the Co-op one day and there was, and you must have all experienced this, no pasta, no toilet roll, no vegetables, nothing in the fridges or freezers. And suddenly I was a bit, wow, I know I've always been a bit of a prepper, but actually I wasn't really expecting this so quickly. And it was supply and demand, as we all know. So from that, a few people, well, we kind of got a WhatsApp group together first of all, you know, how can we support each other? How can we help people like myself? I was shielding very early on. And literally within the course of a week, we got together various groups. So out of that came Plannu Fwyd, which is what I'm going to talk about today. Plannu Fwyd means plant food in Welsh, as in plant food, not as in plant food. We've also got a group called Heart, Mind and Body, which now offers bursaries for therapeutic care. We had an amazing solidarity fund where you applied for a £100 grant if you felt that you needed it. There was a lot of solidarity work around, you know, medicine, shopping for people, food shopping for people, this sort of thing. But my interest is in food. I studied a permaculture design course back in the very early 90s, just as permaculture was kind of becoming embedded within the UK. And then I'm now a trustee for the Permaculture Association. And it just feels like the time is ripe to start extending out the ideas around permaculture design. So it's lovely to hear a couple of you talk about your interest and your studies within permaculture. And I teach a little bit. I should be doing more teaching over the course of the year now that my day job I've drawn a line under. So as a little bit about both my background and how Plannu Fwyd first started. But I think what I'll do now is share my screen. Just give me a minute and make sure that I'm actually sharing the right bit of my screen. There we go. And if I go to there we go, marvellous. There we go. So Plannu Fwyd, as I said, means plant food in Welsh. And we quite quickly got together a group of maybe 10 or 12 people. And we've got quite a vibrant food community within Machynlleth anyway. And I know that quite a few of you are either interested in incredible edible or have at least heard of it. And we have something that was inspired by incredible edible called Maithlan. Maithlan in Welsh has got kind of a double meaning, so it can kind of mean happy and abundant, but it's also got connotations with growing as well. So Maithlan, Mach being short for Machynlleth. I'm a director of this organisation, and Plannu Fwyd now sits as one of the umbrella projects under Maithlan. But we also have a kind of an edible town ethos, as well as supporting up and coming farmers. And there's other strands to the work as well. But Plannu Fwyd originally didn't start under Maithlan. We just started as quite an anarchic bunch of people who just, you know, thought, right, what's our experience and how can we support all of these people who are all going, we're furloughed, we've been laid off, we've got a garden, we're scared about food imports and exports, we can see Brexit on the horizon, we just want to get the food in the ground. How do we best support that? So in year one, we had 5 major projects that we managed to pull off. So Tyfu Dyfu, which I'll go on to explain all of these in a moment, but Tyfu Dyfu, the seed and the seedling swaps, encouraging and supporting field scale growers. Machynlleth is sort of sits within a lot of countryside, ever such a lot of countryside, and there are farms that people are using, renting fields, have been within their families. There is access to land here. I don't know if you can see that. I hope you can. No, come back. Oh, excuse me a minute. No, I'm going the wrong way. Come on. Come on. Oh, sorry. Bear with me. Right. Oh, blast. There we go. Right. Take it back to there. And then I shall share my screen again. Share. And present. There we go. Sorry about that. And then finally, the Land Army. So the Land Army sessions came out of a permaculture idea called Permablitz, which is where a bunch of people who are all permaculture practitioners come together and have a blitz on one person's bit of land. And then eventually it's your turn and you get a big blitz of people on your bit of land. The Land Army kind of came out of that. So to talk about Tuvi Dovey, it was basically about helping little people. So one of our members, Kirsty, she's got a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old who really like helping in the garden, really like helping. So she kind of decided that not only did she want help and support with her own kids and their burgeoning seed growing, but she wanted to help other local children as well. So we managed to pull down a very small grant of, it's £500 from the local co-op, which bought a number of seeds, some little envelopes, some stickers, and we started making up these seed packs. So we made up 220 seed packs in the first year, and inside them was not only the seeds, but how we grow the seeds. And in this beautiful, ever so simple way, where we have the picture of the seed and what it is in English and what it is in Welsh. So we have got a quite strong bilingual policy. So everything we put out bilingually. And it helps with parents supporting their children's education as well. So as you can see from what's on your screens, we gave the bare instructions, and then along the bottom was a little bit of the kind of tips, who can grow the tallest sunflower in your family, and we did have some whoppers actually last year. We really did, and we had a lovely little competition that was online with people submitting photos, etc. And there's a couple of the said little people doing their thing. And it was incredibly successful. At that point, it only went out to, the seeds went out to children within the Machynlleth Primary School and any home educated kids. So we've got quite a big group of home editors as well. They also went out to the young carers groups. So that was one of the projects. One of my babies, probably my big baby really, is this. So it's the seed and seedling swap. So the seed swap, that happened, it was quite old school last year how we did it. So I would once a week publish a list of all the seeds that either I'd collected, I'd been given, other community members had collected, pop them into tiny little envelopes, that for the older amongst us, the ones who used to get the wages in, and just wrote what it was on it. And then people would either ring me up or send a stamped address envelope, and say, I would like X, Y, and Z, and I'd pop them in a little envelope and stick a stamp on them, or people would collect them from the plank outside the house. And incredibly, we moved over 300 packs of seeds in about 8 weeks. And then as time went on, a lot of people are obviously sowing seeds and then realising that their seed sowing techniques were actually really good, and ended up with a surplus of seedlings. So the plank with the Seedling Swap came about. Now this is opposite our local co-op, so it's on the high street. It's got a lot of footfall, and literally there's no money involved. We take the plant, put it, the plant that we want to swap, put it on the plank, see what else is there, walk away with it. So we had this one and one outside the front and the back of my own house, and another one on one of the other council estates. And mine kept going all year. It's literally, I was putting trees out in the winter, and what it's meant is that there's been a constant flow of people putting seed trays out, bamboo poles, hazel sticks, tools are being left now. So we've got this really lovely exchange thing going on, but no money is involved at all. So that's my baby. I do like my seedlings. So if we come on then to talk about the field scale growers, we had a number of new growers last year. So the top left of the screen, this is a housing co-op, and they set down a load of, they're mainly no dig beds, and at the bottom as well, that's also quite a big field that's got no dig beds in. So what they did was lay the cardboard, wet the cardboard, put manure and soil over the top, and then laid wood chip in between all of the rows. And I mean, Katie on the right hand side did 5 tons of potatoes. So a lot of potatoes. This is an old seed hopper attached to a very, very old Ferguson tractor. And it's, yeah, the guy on the right is a local farmer, as Welsh as they come. And he rented Katie a large acreage to be able to grow loads of potatoes. And I think there's probably about a third of Machynlleth have probably eaten her potatoes. So she did good. Oh, this is lovely. So this is Jasper on the left hand side, and on the right hand side is Kate F. She owns this farm, and we're lucky. We've got 3 working horses in the valley, with using it real old school, and that was part of the potato growing there. And again, this is more Land Army stuff, I think. Let me have a look at my notes. Yeah, this is Land Army. So Land Army, the way we're doing that again this year, the way that works is you have a farmer and they contact us, so they'll ring, they'll email, whatever, and say, right, we'd like a Land Army session next week on Thursday, and this is what I want them to be doing. So quite often it's muck spreading, creating new vegetable beds. And then we've got our team of volunteers. We'll advertise, usually using one of the online ticketing event services. We have to do a risk assessment. We were, as agricultural workers, we were allowed to travel. So for a lot of people, this was probably the one way that last summer they could get a bit of social interaction. So everybody had to maintain their 2-metre distance. But it was a real feel-good factor. So it helped the farmers, but it also helped with people's well-being as well. And then finally, we ran a bunch of online events. So what did we do? We did basically looked to all our local experts. So I did one on seed saving. We've got a farmer who is very hot on no dig. We've got another permaculture farmer, and they all came together, talked about pest control or just what it's like to garden in West Wales, or Mid Wales. We've got a very short growing season, so we will get frosts right up until the end of May. So everything that we grow has to have a short growing cycle. So we're really all still learning from both from each other and from our farmer friends as to what we can grow in our gardens, in the community gardens, on the farms, and yeah, sort of more wide scale. So I'm just going to take a pause there and have a little swallow, and then maybe talk about our organisational structure. But if you've got any questions about anything I've just said over the last few minutes, this is probably the time to hit me with them. Just while I have a drink.
I've got one question, if I may, Tammi.
Yes, please, Chris.
I'm sort of, for example, taking the seeds, because you made 220 packets of seeds. What was sort of driving that? I mean, did someone just say, "Oh, we got so many seeds, what shall we do with them?" Or was it, "Let's get loads of seeds together so we can swap them, or we will help to offer the opportunity"? So, just what was driving this idea?
Parents. So a few of us were starting to have parents come to us and say, "Do you know what? We're at home with the kids and we're supposed to be home educating. We don't really know what's going on and we just want to get out, but we're not allowed out. So we're in the garden, and suddenly we realise that our garden is just a patch of dirt, and actually we want to do something a bit more." And it just developed out of that, and developed ever so quickly. We were only meeting once a week, and we were meeting online. And really quickly, Kirsty, she's a student at CAT, she said, "Right, okay, I know I can pull down a bit of funding from the co-op. This will make a great case study for part of my module. I'm going to run with it." And I guess part of the joy of having an organisation that doesn't have a bank account, doesn't have a hierarchical structure, is that it's like a seed bed, I guess. If somebody has a good idea and it's not impinging on anybody else, they've got permission to run with it. Then I'll go on to explain a little bit more about how we kind of all work with each other, because we're such a radically different bunch of people. I mean, we have gardening in common. We have the fact that we've all got 2 arms and 2 legs and a head in common, and that's about it. So yeah, we are really, really quite radically different bunch of people, but we work together because, we like what we do. So yeah, that was the driving force. It actually came from parents and children. Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to push my door to, because the cat's just pushed it open. Bear with me a tick. Now, in the next 5 minutes, there's going to be mewling. "No, let me in, let me in." That'd be the cat, not the other half. Okay, so our organisational structure. So all of this Plannu Fwyd stuff, this kind of jelly that we were trying to juggle and mould and see what it was. I was doing a permaculture teacher training course at the time, with a guy called Rakesh who lives down in London, and he's very, very knowledgeable about sociocracy, and I'm not. I'll hands up say that now. But what I took away from our teacher training and the way that he ran our course was, well, okay, Chris, you're probably, I think it was Chris involved with co-ops. Is that right? Yes, I thought it was, yeah. So I've lived in housing co-ops, quite a few, and I've worked within workers' co-ops, and I love cooperative structures, and I love the inter-supports that co-ops can give each other. And that was where we were going with Plannu Fwyd. And then I learned about sociocracy, and one isn't better than the other, they're different. But in terms of some of the interpersonal connections that can be enhanced with sociocracy, I basically went to the group and said, hey, wow, I'm learning about this stuff. What do you think? So they said, well, we think you need to tell us about it, Tam. So I did. And basically it's two fundamental principles. So it's about really good, effective organisations. And the thing that really sings to me is the equality, honouring everybody's voice, and nobody is more than or less than. None of you can tell from here, but I'm actually disabled. So I walk with a stick, and I'm over bendy. I've got Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and I dislocate very easily. So currently I have a dislocated coccyx. And so that equality for me feels so important, in that I can't dig the garden anymore, but I can sit in front of a computer, and actually I can garden on my hands and knees really effectively. I've got quite a big garden, and I manage it through permaculture principles. So going back to sociocracy, that honouring people's voices felt very, very important when we're looking at huge societal shift where people are suddenly at home and not working, and suddenly everything got, there's a lot of solidarity work going on, and things for a while quite felt a little bit socialist, and suddenly that felt, if we're going to have this organisation and move it forward, we can't sit with an old paradigm. We can't have that hierarchical structure that has proven largely to be quite destructive in a lot of cases, and certainly very disempowering for those of us at the bottom. So the three supporting pillars of sociocracy are consent. So rather than consensus, consent is slightly different. Consensus will be, well, most of us are kind of cool with that, and some people see the little bit, but we kind of, there's a decision and everybody's got to kind of come to that level. Whereas consent is much more about really hearing people's points of view and how far you're prepared to compromise as a person, or compromise your values in order for the aims of an organisation to be moved forward. There's also one of the pillars about circular organisation and about feedback. So, oops, oh, I've done it again. I'm going the wrong way. The trackpad on my computer is really mega sensitive. I'm sorry. There we go. So I don't know if you can see all of that slide. I can't, but at the top it's about consent versus consensus. So when we're proposing something, or when we're looking at agreement within an organisation, it's every circle has a name. Oh, I've repeated myself there. Sorry, I should have checked this. Every circle has an aim. And so if we look at the 5 projects that Plannu Fwyd ran last year, each one of those is a circle. So for instance, the Seedling Swap and the Seed Swap, its intention is free of charge to get as many seeds and seedlings out to the local community as possible. That's its intention. Or the example here I've given, the Land Army's aim is to help farmers and smallholders with land-based one-off tasks by providing a volunteer workforce. So that's its aim. It can make any decision it wants to, as long as it doesn't affect the wider Plannu Fwyd. If it does, you bring it to a meeting, to a general meeting that we have once a week, and you say, we want to have 20 grand from the government. How do you all feel about it? And then that discussion would happen. Okay, you want 20 grand? Yeah, great. What are you going to do about a bank account? Would you be better off forming your own company? It does actually affect all of us, etc., etc. So it can feel like a lot of talking, but with a decent amount of preparation ahead of those weekly meetings, you kind of have a discussion document with all of the salient points so that everybody's on the same page. And if a decision has to be made and you haven't read that discussion document, you don't have a voice. So it's like true democracy. You know, if you participate fully. And if you choose not to participate, then you rescind your right. So yeah, I guess I'm kind of repeating myself a little bit here, but each of these, I prefer the petal analogy to the circles. So if you imagine each one of these is a working group, and then we have one person from each of the working groups meeting within the central organising group. So over the winter, we met twice a month. Now we're meeting every week. And they're really great. It's 45 minutes of joy and togetherness and decision making, obviously, catching up with people, catching up with projects, and just touching base that all of those working groups are doing what they said they're, trying to achieve their own individual aim. And some of those working groups fizzle away. Some of them, what we've had is, I'll come back to that one in a minute. What we've had is, so the online events, this one here, that's actually migrated away from Plannu Fwyd to Edible Mach Maethlon, because it just sort of seemed to fit better underneath a different group. So we've also got, so the field scale growers support, they managed to attract quite a large amount of money, and they're now their own organisation, Pathways to Farming, which supports large scale growers across the Dyfi Valley. So what I'm now likening Plannu Fwyd to is, it's like a seed bed. So we can kind of let people find their feet. We've got a proposal at the moment from somebody who's very keen to start up community composting. So what we've said is, yeah, we'll listen to your proposals, we'll give you loads of feedback, you can work within our structure, and then if you get to a point where you want to pull down funding or you want to be your own entity, well, we'll go and off you go, and with our absolute blessing. So we're kind of likening ourselves now to a bit of a seed bed. And I've gone back to this slide because I kind of jumped ahead a little bit. And I'll just leave that there for a minute. because this slide, it talks, I guess, about leadership within Plannu Fwyd and how everybody has the opportunity to put the leadership pants on. Everything is rotated, so the chair is always rotated, or the facilitator, the note taker. We tend to do our minutes collaboratively, and we do them while we're in the meeting. So we have a Google Doc open and we do our minutes as we're talking, so everybody gets a chance to do a bit. And we always check in. We check in at the beginning. What is our intention? Hold that intention over the course of the meeting, and then check in at the end. You know, what was the quality of the conversation? We've had a couple of really narky meetings, you know, miscommunication, but if we're going to be a forward-thinking organisation, we've got to be really big and grown up about it and go, do you know what? Sometimes I mess up and I'm really sorry, because when you sent that email, I thought you were being really short and horrible, and actually you were just really busy and you're on the bus and trying to type on your phone. And so being really big and grown up means, forgive my language, but it means owning our own shit. And sometimes having to go, I'm really sorry, or when you said that, it hurt me. I felt less than. And it's big grown up work. And if we're going to move into a new paradigm, we've got to do that big grown up work. We've got to do it internally, and we've got to hold a really safe space so that others around us can do it. So where next? Well, it's kind of what the discussion is at the moment. So we're very blessed to have one of our key members, Sadie. She's gone out to Finland for a month to join her fellow before they both come back to the Dovey Valley. So she's just built us a new website, as you do, you know, go to Finland, build a website. Some of the projects that we've run have extended their reach. So the Seedling Swap, we now have a network of plant tables across town and in a lot of the outlying villages. The Tuvy Dovey, which is the children's seed packs, they've got an extended reach now, so that's gone out to all of the primary schools in the Dovey Valley. And some of these projects have migrated to other organisations, and some have just stayed the same, like the Land Army. So that's your last slide. So it's just some contact details. Yeah, if you're interested to take that forward, and that's probably been an awful lot longer than Catherine said that I was allowed, but I do talk and I'm ever so sorry. And yeah, I'd just like to open it up now to all of you if you've got questions, queries and comments, I guess.
Oh, that was perfect, Tammy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Somebody put somebody in the chat. Hello, very interesting talk, Tammy. Many thanks. Great projects. Wonderful to hear about such good spirit. Please may I recommend the film Biggest Little Farm Movie.
Yeah.
.com. Very organic farm animals. And
Yeah.
Naila says thank you. That was brilliant.
Actually, that's a very good reminder, Tina. Thank you ever so much, because we're trying to get resources together. So that'll go on my list of resources. Thank you. Yeah, great.
Oh, brilliant. Has anybody got any questions or anything they want to ask? I bet Chris wants to ask if you've got a bank account now.
No.
You haven't either. All right, there we go. We're in good company.
No, but I think we have got a PayPal account.
Oh.
I know. So that's kind of an interim at the moment. And we're just trying to sort out the logistics as to how it can be used by each sort of representative, if you like, of each of those projects, but that's kind of work in progress. And maybe we will have, I mean, the only bank that we would go with is Triodos, I think, maybe nationwide. But no, we don't have a bank account.
And are you like a incorporative structure, or are you just an unincorporated?
We are radically anarchic at the moment. It has its limitations and it has its freedoms, like anything. And I think also we never say never. So yeah.
Is there an intention to be very, you know, you're obviously acting and working together very cooperatively, which you're right, I like all that sort of thing. But you talk about the sociocracy, so I understand that, and it seems very democratic, and I like all that. That seems great to me. But I can't tell quite between a hobby or a lifestyle or a bit of fun or a job, you know. And I love that, you know, it's very organic, so that seems very sensible. Because then you can say if it withers, that's because we don't need it. If it thrives, that's because we all want it. So I really can see how that works. But you know, so that's my little observation on it. How would you describe it back to us?
It's a bit of everything. So I think, given I know what a cop out, eh? I think. And I guess if you asked other people, they would say different things. Where we do sit is underneath the umbrella of Machmaethlon. So if we wanted to, we could formalise underneath that umbrella. So Machmaethlon is a company limited by guarantee, operating in a cooperative manner. We've chosen Sociocracy because we think it's got some pluses. What was the last year for any of us? You know, I was furloughed for a lot of it. Some of our other members were furloughed. There's two who, excuse me a minute. Excuse me. There were two who their work remit kind of gave them enough opportunity to be able to say that Plannu Fwyd was their work as well. One's community development, one works within the food industry. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, really. And we're always very mindful that, you know, people have periods of ill health or caring responsibilities, whatever it is, and that we might need to take a sabbatical. And we didn't work in August. We didn't do anything in August other than what we'd already planned, just so that everybody could have a bit of a break, bit of summertime. You know, that tiny little window. Do you remember that, when we could actually go out and be kind of normalish? You know, allowed to cross the border and that sort of thing. For me at the moment, it's lifestyle plus voluntary. So it's a mixed bag. Everybody comes with their own kind of, you know, intention. And yeah, we've got one member in Finland, we've got another who's in London at the moment, but both of their work is computer based. So yeah, that's a long-winded answer. So.
Oh, it's amazing. And James just left a message in the chat. Yeah, anybody who wants to speak, just unmute and then you'll be able to come in. If like you feel like you don't get a chance to say, you can always put your hand up and then we know that you've got something to say. James saying, great information, great inspiration, great to hear about growth and development. Thank you. The seed share with no money involved, love it. Should be installed around every set of allotments across the country. There's a bit of a gift economy going on in the people that come to this group. There seems to be a bit of, you know, kind of gift economy, influence, appreciation. So I like that. It is nice.
A lot, yes. Because with that gift economy comes that pay it forward ethos. And I've had so many people knock at the front door and go, oh, those two birch trees that are on the table outside, how much are they? I can't see a price. I'm like, they're yours, you take them. There's plenty more where that came from. Like, oh, but I couldn't. I was like, you really can. And if you feel that you need to do something with that pound that's in your hand, go down to a local shop, put it in the air ambulance box, do something with it. Because there's more to our human endeavour than cold hard lucre. And I'm the bottom of the economic chain, but it's just something more. We're better for being able to give as people, and we have so much.
Wow, that's amazing. Mary said everyone here will be interested in the Wellbeing Economy Alliance. Look it up. So I am gonna look that up.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
No, I don't know that one. That's brilliant. Right, I've scribbled that one down. That's brilliant.
I was really struck, Tammi, when you said there's a lot of talking. But it sounds really worthwhile. I mean, certainly in my world, there are an awful lot of meetings which would benefit from having a check-in and being clear about your intention at the start, and from having a check-in at the end as well. But yeah, people tend to not want to be so introspective as all that, which is a shame. But it reminded me of a film by Helen Isles, who's a filmmaker who's done she did a film called Deep Listening. I don't even know if you can get hold of it now. She did a special screening of it in Swansea, but it was about intentional communities, and the importance of just listening to each other, and investing that time in listening to each other is so important for the authenticity and quality of what you do together going forward. So I think, although I appreciate the structure that you've described and the process of it, I think really the core of it is that commitment to listen to each other, isn't it? And not all systems of organisation include that, but I think that's really valuable.
My understanding is it comes from another permaculture technique, which is active listening, and it's not just permaculture, but that's where I first came across it. And it's really where the little monkey chatterbox, you can just put it over there and really listen to what that person's saying. And 70% of our communication isn't this, it's all of this. I'm also slightly hearing impaired, and I both sign and I can lip read, and it's very, very obvious to me, and I think it's becoming more obvious to a lot of people, that when we can quieten the mind and really, really really with your heart listen to somebody, you can get so much more out of a conversation than going, oh, well, I think that's what they're going to say, so I'm going to finish their sentence and then I'm going to talk over them and then I'm going to do this. And you're not right because I'm right and I'm better and I know more about that than you do, and etc., etc., etc. And I was that person. So it's been a big journey for me to be able to actively listen. And you've all done it tonight, so thank you.
Are you therefore hoping that it goes well beyond Macunthla, or are you not really too bothered how it sort of develops in that sense? Because your control is not going to go, with respect, it's not going to go miles, is it? It's nice that people are here from Northumbria or Cumbria, I think I heard, Cumbria, possibly Northumbria, but that's for this discussion and everything. But getting groups all over the place, is that what you'd like? You'd like to see replication of lots of groups here, there and everywhere?
I would love for people to be inspired enough to explore some of these areas. And I did a talk recently for Neil Griffiths, who's an MP in Llanelli, and they've taken, particularly with the food side of things, they've taken an awful lot of inspiration from Plannu Fwyd. So I think what I would like to try to embark on over the course of this year is some kind of toolbox, some kind of checklist that says, this is how we did it, and we're not perfect, but these are some of the things we've learned, and these can be considerations for you, wherever you happen to be. But really, you know, every group has its own flavour. So it's definitely not a one size fits all. You know, just our geography, you know, we're surrounded by mountains. So our nearest town is 10 miles, no, 18 miles away. We've got villages in between here and Aberystwyth. So just our geography makes us different. We have to be more resilient and self-sufficient here, or intersufficient. So yeah, you know, what we do here wouldn't necessarily work in, I don't know, Bristol or Brighton. But I think the more that food activists talk, and we do really talk, you know, I do quite a lot of you know, conferences and talks and that sort of thing with food activists, the more we can start seeing the common threads. So I don't think it would be appropriate to say, yes, this is a one size fits all situation, because it's not. But there are commonalities in communities that can be picked up.
Definitely, but I really like that, to revisit that sociocracy as well. I've kind of like, it keeps coming into my awareness and in and out, and it's just nice to have the different alternatives as well. I totally forgotten about that. By consent. So I really want to it. I prefer it was it. I'm okay, and I really object. You know, that's really, yeah. Okay, a couple of things in the chat. Sharing is the saviour of the planet. I think you could be right. And Emma was saying Zoom is good for practicing listening. It is. Sometimes developing as a chatterbox, often bursting with enthusiasm. Well, feel free to burst through the screen at any moment with that. But James has asked a question. Do you think there could be a way to set up eco-villages within large farms employing no-dig techniques?
Oh, that's two different things in my opinion. So setting up eco-villages within large farms. We don't really have large farms, so I don't really know, you know, the farms around us are around 60 acres, which you know, they're not big. They're certainly not those big agri farms that you get. A lot of it is dependent on the planning system. I forget, James, are you in England or Wales?
I can answer for him if he's in England. I'd like you to speak, James, but you look like you're struggling with the mic. He's in England.
Yeah, fine, no worries. So your planning regs are different to here in Wales. We've got One Planet Development here, which is tricky. It's definitely tricky, but it's a planning system where if you show the planners that a large percentage of your income comes from the land, then you can build as long as it's in a very eco-sensitive manner. I don't think there's an equivalent in England. So setting up an eco-village within a large farm would largely depend, first of all, on your local planners and your planning regs. But certainly setting up a co-op is possible. So, you know, if you have a large farm that has a large farmhouse, then, you know, the first house that I lived here in Wales was that, and there's a lot of that here. So it had it was 14-bedroomed farmhouse with the kind of add-ons, and we ran that cooperatively. And again, going back to kind of intentional communities, if you're starting up any sort of project, it feels really important that you've got a common ethos that you're all working towards. So yes, I think there's an organisation called The Land Is Ours, and they have a newsletter that is called Chapter 7, I think, and that's a really amazing resource. It's Simon Fairley, who lived at Tinker's Bubble. I don't think he lives there anymore, in Somerset. Incredibly knowledgeable about planning regs. And in terms of no dig technique, you can do it anywhere. Not anywhere. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it at the end of your bed, but it's, you know, employing no dig techniques is literally just a method of preserving soil and achieving healthy soil structures while we're growing. So it feels like there's two different things there. Oh, sorry, bear with me. My computer is low on battery and I've not plugged it in properly. Ouch. There we go.
Yeah, James is saying as well, just seems to be a lot of folk looking for allotments that don't exist. And Mary is saying London Tend is a garden sharing broker. They put people looking for growing space in contact with people who can't keep up with their gardens. Could be an answer to allotments shortages. As is Incredible Edible, actually. We keep getting given lots of land and we haven't got enough volunteers yet to keep up with everything else. So there's lots of opportunities, isn't there, with the, you know, especially with us, there's lots of land that say the council can't afford to keep up anymore, so we can help them out. And like you say, like London 10, there's people with growing space in their gardens that haven't got the time or ability to do it. Tina said, would anyone know what happened to the Kinder Village? Kinder Village?
Oh,
what's the Kinder Village?
Mary, do you remember Kinder Village? It was something. Oh, there was one in Sussex. Oh gosh, God. Okay, I'm going back about 20 years. I don't know. If we're talking about the same thing, Tina, it was like the what are they called? Those. Was it an international community that set up on eco with an eco bent to it? Oh, you've got me questioning now. I think it was the Kinder Villages were a German thing.
Yeah.
Don't know is the answer to that one. Oh, okay. Right. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, I'm afraid.
Got lots of good things to like research after this as well, haven't we?
It's great. I've got my pen and notepad here. Kinder yes, yeah. Oh, it's not what I was.
In Wales.
Gosh. No, didn't know about that one at all.
Well, I bet there's so many as well that of these projects we just don't know about each other. Oh, yeah, it'd be nice to learn some more about them if they're still going and how they're doing.
Beautiful. Emma would like to ask a question, which is, do we need large farms?
Well, permaculture.
I just mute for a minute because I typed it and then I'm thinking, oh, actually, we've not really discussed like scale and size. I'm thinking of, we don't need these massive monoculture things, and actually working a bit smaller so you can react quicker and things like that is perhaps a little bit better. So I typed it out and then I thought, oh, actually that needs a lot more information about it, a little bit more explanation. So yeah, if it's looking for a big farm so that you can have sort of shared spaces and use it as a community space, then then big. But I didn't mean like enormous, as in like the huge farms that you get in Canada and that sort of stuff. So, anyway,
Yeah, I mean, certainly we could, you know, within a small acreage, we can produce a lot of food, particularly if the, you know, if you have decent soil, if it's south facing, you know, if you have a longer growing season than the few weeks or months a year that we have where I live. Yeah, you can be much more impactful. But I think until there has to be a bit of an education shift as well around what food we eat, particularly in terms of fruit and veg, what we expect to eat. When we start eating seasonally and locally, there are times of the year when you will just be eating leaves and potatoes. And, you know, where's, you know, is that something that we want to do? Or can we then supplement by growing lots more fruit, lots more herbs? Actually, you know, the amount of varieties of food that we grow in the UK can be so much more than they are now. So I would make the argument that a lot more people on the land and or a lot less agribusiness is beneficial, because in my experience there's an awful lot of people that want to work the land. So yeah, and I'm just seeing the Lammas thread. They're not selling up or closing down. One of the because they're all privately owned, they are able to sell their properties, and one of them was sold. There was a terrible fire at the beginning of last year, so Juliet Dale, I think it was hers. But no, they've just built a beautiful and enormous sort of round community space in the middle of the properties.
Subject to nobody else, a couple of angles of questions, if I may. Firstly, would you consider, given what you just said about potatoes and herbs and things, would you consider a sort of foraging sort of a group, or maybe you already do some foraging? Secondly, given that the seasonality, which is completely right, but I just wonder, firstly, is there other ways of extending the season or doing things that occupy you in the out of, and I don't know what out of season is, I'm not very good as a gardener, but I appreciate it's going to, if it's quieter in the winter, there may be other things. I just wonder what you can do in the winter. So foraging and seasonal, any observations there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge preserver, so I dry, so not just like, you know, the pickles and the jams and the chutneys, but I dry a lot of stuff that sees us through the winter. I brine a lot of stuff. I do a lot of fermentation. So, you know, with using a lot of those preservation skills, that's the way. And, you know, I said at the very beginning of this that my parents were Irish travellers. They were housed in the 50s, and that's one of my first memories is my grandmother's larder, which was just lined with jars and bags and, you know, everything. And we'd always go home with something, always go home with something. Personally, you know, I've got a mid-sized back garden, but in that back garden I've got a greenhouse, a polytunnel, and my chickens. So the chickens always, you know, I always get a couple or 3 eggs, even in the depth of winter. They're all back into lay now, but there will always be eggs. And what was your other question?
Foraging.
Foraging, great idea, love it. Yes, I mean, personally I forage. The only one. Oh, okay, Nella, bye-bye, lovely, thank you.
Bye, good to see you.
The only one of us who reliably forages at the moment is my 15-year-old. So he'll take one of the dogs and he will go out, come back with sacks and sacks of garlic, wild garlic, you know, this sort of thing. So, but I'm really grateful for it because, you know, come kind of January, you know, all that dried, or, you know, we do flavoured salts. So suddenly, you know, now I'm looking, oh my God, I can't bear to see another wild garlic plant. But in 6 months' time, 8 months' time, I'll be like, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. So, yeah, but a foraging group sounds great. It's a good idea. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. And in terms of extending the season, most of us have got some sort of undercover, even if they're just cloches or cold frames. But yeah, greenhouses, polytunnels. You can get really tiny little polytunnels, and you just stack everything. So I've got salad growing now that, you know, I've not got anything growing outside. That's we're still getting really heavy frosts at night at the moment. But yeah, in terms of what I've got in the polytunnel, I've got salads growing. Sea buckthorn, Tina. Yes, I've got some in the garden. Yeah, very, very high in vitamin C. And which method of drying do you use? I have a dehydrator, but I've also rigged up a pretty ropey looking solar dryer as well.
Oh, thank you for that. Frank's just popped on. Have you met Frank, Tammy? And Tammy, have you met Frank?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
Hello,
Frank.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Live fairly close to each other now.
Yeah.
But yeah. Hopefully you'll get to watch it back on the recording, Frank, because it's lovely to see everything happen. Yeah. Talking of gift economy, for those that don't know, Frank founded the Give and Take, which is a gift economy shop. You can give and receive anything you want, and then he works with Well Health as well, which is a gift economy farm near Corwin-ish as well. So beautiful. But I think we were just starting to finish off though. Like, if unless anybody's got anything else to ask or say, we've kept Tammy late enough.
Yeah, I've got people hovering at the door wanting to say goodnight. So
oh, beautiful.
Fairly
have you answered James's question about which method of drying do you use?
Well, dehydration and solar drying, and then just hanging stuff up when it's warm. So yeah, I've got a south-facing room that's nice and warm. It's a good thing about council houses; they're really well insulated.
There you go. Oh, brilliant! Yeah, and hope to see you again at some point, Tammy. You come back, visit back, or what? Yeah.
Just before we go, let's hear Linda's last question, and then I'll have to go and say goodnight to everybody.
Just a very quick one. Do the children also, in your consensual sort of process, do the children also join in that at all? Is it for over a certain age, or are you
They don't join in any meaningful manner whatsoever. they crawl all over you, and kind of, you know, Mom, yeah, no. But having said that, I do have a lovely experience. So I run quite big permaculture areas at festival sites, and we always have circle time in the morning, and they always have the opportunity either to have their own circle time, or we open up the floor for the children if they've got a question. So, you know, that sort of consent and consensuality does kind of domino out into the wider world. But no, in terms of Plannu Fwyd, we've got a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old that join us, but because of our safeguarding, they have to be with a responsible adult. But they join us for work sessions. And yes, I do know Callum, yes.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Tammi. Thank you really much. That was really, really
Lovely.
helpful.
It was great. It's really lovely to meet you all, and hopefully I shall cross paths with some of you at some point in the future. And Mary, thank you ever so much for coming. Mary and I worked together about 15 years ago, so we've not seen each other since. So it's a real blessing to see you this evening.
Beautiful. And
Oh, thank you for doing it. Thank you for organising, Catherine, and thank you for doing the talk, Tammi. It was definitely worth my while from a work point of view and everything, as well as seeing your lovely face for the first time in many, many years. So thank you very much.
We have to up the grade of the Incredible Wrecsam meetings now. We'll have to up level. Frank says, glad you're still going. It's been amazingly busy, just settled down and so I might have missed the meeting. I'm sure you can link up again.
Yes,
Cool.
yes, we'll see
All
you
right,
soon.
thanks everyone.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
Thanks very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.